everyone, and welcome to another episode of In Dispute. This time we're looking at the 85th Academy Awards, which took place in 2013 for films in 2012. And the person who still hates that is Tommy. He's with us as
Hello.
always. And we've got a returning guest again. He's I don't know. He's George.
That is enough explanation.
He's George. You know him from last time. You've heard him on In Development. So
Again, another good episode. It was a good episode last time.
Another, yeah.
Good guess,
like
George.
the In Development.
I'm also easy to book, which is
don't.
probably the main driver recently.
Yeah.
And now you know how the show works a little bit more, George. Maybe you'll host
Maybe.
next time.
Maybe.
Change things up. If you don't know how the show works, this week we're looking at the 85th Academy Awards. We look at the top 4 categories. That's Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and we go through all of them and decide if the Academy got it right, gave it the winner.
They were really good at the start, and we've started to get a little bit more rocky now, haven't we? These last couple of episodes, we've started disputing a little bit. Because the first 2 episodes, it was like, oh, no, yes, that's no disputes again. It was all friendly.
Yeah.
Then 2014 happened.
Yeah.
And,
was that the big one?
Oh, I had some disputes that year.
Go back and watch the 87th Academy Award, 2015 Oscars, 2014 films. Tommy hates
Jingle
it.
didn't even get nominated for Nightcrawler. Didn't even get nominated.
They
It's
didn't.
insane.
And
Glory beat Everything Is Awesome. I'm joking.
let's jump into this one. Tommy, as you hate
Sorry, I'm done. I'm past it.
as you're so eager to talk, which one would you like to go through first?
Let's start with. Let's just sink our teeth into Best Picture. Let's just go for the big one. Let's just start with the big one.
Wow.
So the nominees were Zero Dark 30, Silver Linings Playbook, Lincoln, Life of Pi, Les Miserables, Django Unchained, Beasts of the Southern Wild, Amour, and the winner, Argo. So I'm actually going to dispute this one. I'm just going to come out and say it straight away.
I'm surprised.
I like Argo just fine, but actually, I'm going to give this one to Zero Dark 30, which I really love. I think we were kind of talking about it a little bit off air, George, but it's kind of... So they could have really... Because of the story, it's about, obviously, the capture and assassination, essentially, of Osama bin Laden. And they
Wait, they got him?
They got him.
Jeez.
And they could have really American sniped this film and over glorified it and over Americanized it.
Insensitive and jingoistic. And
had fireworks and made it a little bit silly, really. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. They kept it really real, and they really showed the bad side of our tactics. The Western tactics, and like the torture scene in it is horrendous. And kind of this whole film assembled by Catherine Bigelow, who I'm a huge fan of. Yeah. We'll talk about her many times throughout this show, I'm sure. Point Break for Best Picture. But I think she's absolutely terrific, and I thought this film as a whole was really well assembled, and it's my pick over Argo.
It did also birth one of the best jokes at any award show, which was when Amy Poehler was at the Golden Globes, and she goes, "I haven't been following the controversy with Zero Dark 30, but when it comes to torture, I trust the woman who was married to 3 years for James Cameron." I agree. I think Argo is a perfectly fine film. I think it's one of the ones where I think it deserves a rewatch. I haven't watched it since.
Yeah, that's fair. I haven't rewatched it since.
And I think Zero Dark 30 is very deserving. But for me, there are a couple of disputes, fellas. So strap in. Ooh. And the ones that weren't even nominated.
Right.
So this one's going to come up a lot. But the film that I think should have been nominated for Best Picture and also won Best Picture should have been Paul Thomas Anderson's The Master.
Right, that might come up in another one of my categories.
It would definitely come up in multiple ones of mine. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson is genuinely, no pun intended, a master of his craft. He has never made a bad film. I think The Master is absolutely phenomenal. It's staggering to me that he didn't even get a nomination for Best Picture from this film. And in other categories as well. I think predominantly the performances were nominated this year as opposed to anything else from that film. It's just, it might be my favourite film of his.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
up there for me, but I don't think it's my favourite.
It might be. It might well be. I think it's so interesting. The performances that he gets out of those people, the subject matter, I think it's just, it's unlike anything. And it's genuinely phenomenal and affecting. And I think it's an American masterpiece. I really think it is. Which I wouldn't say for other films nominated in this category. I'd also say Moonrise Kingdom should probably have gotten a nod. Grand Budapest Hotel is Wes Anderson's probably some crowning achievement. I'm glad that got a lot of love. But I think Moonrise Kingdom, especially when you've got things like Les Mis, which can just slide on out of there. Yeah, but predominantly it's the master for me when it comes to Best Picture.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm also gonna dispute. We got a full house of disputes.
Wow. Has that ever happened before?
I reckon it must have.
It must have, yeah.
But I'm not like you guys said. I really like Argo. I think it's great for what it is. I don't think it should have been the winner. I would have actually given it to Silver Linings Playbook.
Really?
Yeah, I really love that film. I think the David O. Russell manages to get great performances out of everyone who's in it. Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro. I'm sure we'll talk about some of those later on. And I think it deals with the subject matter really well. Yeah, I think a lot of it probably does go down to the performances of it and the direction, but I think it all kind of comes together, and it is one of my favourite films. I'd probably put it in my top 20 of all time. I don't know, it was really powerful for me and it really hit home. So I think out of all the other ones, I probably would put Zero Dark, and I'd probably put Django up there as well, ahead of Argo. But yeah, that's a dispute for me.
Although unlike David O. Russell, American Hustle, David O. Russell, Silver Linings Playbook doesn't rhyme.
It doesn't rhyme. And that's why he didn't.
That's why he didn't win, that's the reason.
George, which category would you like to go into?
I'll jump over to Best Actor.
Okay.
Best Actor.
So the nominees that year were Denzel Washington for Flight, Joaquin Phoenix for The Master, Hugh Jackman for Les Miserables, Bradley Cooper for Silver Linings Playbook, and Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln, who won that year. This is one of the... I think this is a really good category. I've not seen Flight, I will say up front.
Me neither.
But
Me neither.
I'm sure Denzel Washington did good. I mean, if he
Man can act. Yeah.
yeah, and if he can
He can.
be like J. Ezekiel Esquire and like get a nomination off that film and like no one had seen it or no one heard anything about it, and then I'm sure he was very good in Flight. This is one where, unlike some of the other categories, I'm not going to dispute.
Yeah, it's the same for me.
Yeah,
Daniel
same.
Day-Lewis. I mean, I don't love that film. I think it's a little bit boring. I think it's a better and more interesting performance than it's a film. But to not only have to play a historical figure, which is hard enough in itself,
Yeah.
but to also invent something that is authentic with them, because no one had heard Lincoln's voice.
And that's the biggest problem, that everyone has their own version in their head.
Exactly.
Everyone reads his speeches and hears the stories, and everyone's got their own picture in their mind of this amazing man. So to then come and do your version of that and then make that the definitive version, which he does and executes perfectly, is a real feat and a real triumph. Which is why, again, I can't dispute this one either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in exactly the same boat. I'm not going to dispute this. Like I just said when we spoke about Best Picture, I think Bradley Cooper's performance in Silver Linings Playbook was incredible, and I'd put that up there. But I mean, it's Daniel Day-Lewis. You can't take the award away from him.
Same for me. Like Joaquin Phoenix would be a close second.
And actually, I really like Jackman in Les Miserables as well. That film's not great considering how great the source material is, but I liked his Jean Valjean.
He's a musical man. I don't know.
Some would say he's a great showman.
Not the greatest.
I think even Hugh Jackman's done it. I think his performance in Logan was probably better for me
I'd agree with that.
than it was in Les Mis. Let's move on to Best Director. So we had David O. Russell for Silver Linings Playbook, Steven Spielberg for Lincoln, Ben Zeltin for Beasts of Southern Wild. I don't think I pronounced that right. Michael Haneke for More. Michael. Or the winner was Ang Lee for Life of Pi. I'm going to dispute this one. I don't like Life of Pi that much. I think it's a little bit too slow. It's a little bit. They're all focused on that. Oh, there's a lion in that boat.
It's Tiger.
Oh.
Tiger. You obviously wasn't that focused on it.
I wasn't. I think the film itself is fine, but I believe it or not, given how I've gone this episode, I would give it to Mr. Not Rhyming Name, David O. Russell.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Like I said, I think he just puts together that film really well. I think he gets incredible performances out of the three people, as well as Jackie Weaver, and it puts together a film that really affected me, performance-wise, cinematography-wise, production-wise. I think it all really works.
I'm also going to dispute this one, but for someone who wasn't even nominated, and it was tough. It was really close between two. I think I'm probably okay with it because I think George is probably going to go for the other. And this is just kind of the whole. I think we spoke about this in the last episode. She was on about the best director, best picture thing. So it's Catherine Bigelow for me,
Yeah.
where kind of for the points I sort of mentioned with why I love Zero Dark 30 so much. It's interesting. I didn't realise how much I love Zero Dark 30 till I went through this and was like, oh my god, that should have won this. That should have won this category. And that should have won that category. And I was just really surprised because. I think it's absolutely excellent, and I think she is a huge reason for that, and she's proven a few times now. I mean, I guess we'll come to it in a couple of episodes, but with like the Hurt Locker and stuff like that, she's a really terrific talent, and this is probably, aside from Point Break, the best I think she's been as director.
I think I'd say Hurt Locker for me was better. I think,
fair enough.
but we'll get to that.
Interesting. You will get to that.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Unless we get cancelled.
Who's going to cancel
I
you?
mean, it's literally my decision.
Yeah, I'm also going to go in for someone who wasn't nominated. Oh, Tom's giving me a look. Thing is, I'm literally have a list of 5 other potential best directors who weren't even nominated. And again, it's like you say, it's the kind of thing of you want to nominate every person who directed a best picture nominate for best director, but unfortunately you can't do that yet. I've been sending letters.
Ooh.
So I'm going to go with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Right, that was my toss up between two. Yeah,
I think like James says about how he feels with David Russell and bringing out performances. I fear for Joaquin Phoenix in that film. I think he's genuinely unhinged.
It's the best Philip Seymour Hoffman is as well, and that's a
is.
really high bar.
It is the best, and anyone who knows me knows how much I adore Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I've seen the tattoo on your chest.
Yeah. I do. I think it's his best performance as well. And to have that be the man's career is the list of the greatest American films of the 20th and 21st century, and to have this one be his most interesting, charismatic, pathetic sort of performance is phenomenal. To make a man who's enigmatic to the sort of point of a fault and is so incredibly flawed. I mean, he's sort of loosely based on L. Ron Hubbard, and to have him be so interesting and charming, and Amy Adams is great in the film, and it's guys, if you've never seen The Master, go out and watch it. You won't be disappointed.
It's one of the few films I own on Blu-ray.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I own it on Blu-ray as well.
Yeah, I don't own many Blu-rays.
One of the few films that I don't own.
Yeah, that's how that works for you.
If Tommy owns
Is that
it,
what
I
you got
don't.
it like a timeshare?
It's pretty much, yeah.
Interesting. I'd also agree for like Catherine Bigelow as well. I'm surprised Tarantino wasn't nominated for Best Director.
Yeah, that's mine.
And again, obviously, the big one that year was obviously Ben Affleck winning and then also not being nominated. I think Ben Affleck's a very fine director. I don't think Argo's the best example of his directing.
No, I prefer both Gone Baby Gone and The Town,
And
actually.
I prefer The Town, yeah. But no,
Put Argo over Gone Baby Gone.
Hmm?
Should put Argo over Gone Baby Gone.
I think so.
Mm.
I think so, yeah. Gone Baby Gone's tough. It's uglier. But yes, my main dispute, Paul Thomas Anderson, I'd maybe get rid of Ang Lee,
Yeah.
if I'm honest.
Yeah, I would.
And like put Tarantino in there or Bigelow in there. So
Yeah.
I think that's where I'd settle. Dispute. Do we say dispute afterwards?
We do now. We all did this round.
Yeah.
So I think we're all 2 out of 3 disputes so far. I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Tommy, do you want to go through best?
Yeah, sure. So the nominees were Naomi Watts for The Impossible, Quivenjani Wallace for Beast of the Southern Wild. How was that?
Sure.
Quivenjane.
Quivenjane.
It's a forward accent.
Yeah. Quivenjane Wallace for Beast of the Southern Wild, Emmanuel Riva.
I thought it was Reva.
Riva
Maybe?
Yeah, it looks
for
like
Amour.
A Reva run through it? No, sorry.
Jessica Chastain for Zero Dark 30.
Yeah, that one.
Thank you. And Jennifer Lawrence for best for
Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh
I
right,
can
thanks.
tell you, I've only ever seen it written down.
And Jennifer Lawrence is the winner for Silver Linings Playbook. So I'm sorry, James. I'm actually going to dispute this one and give it to Jessica Chastain, who is amazing in this film. She carries it on her shoulders. It's all hers, and she takes it to like dark places, and like you're there with her for every decision, right or wrong. I kind of found myself questioning my own decisions afterwards, just because I felt myself with her, and then.
You mean that guy you got tied up in your basement?
Yeah, I mean,
what to do with him?
what do I do now? Like, what next?
Right.
But she is. This was. I don't remember really having her on my radar in a big way before this film. This was the first time I really thought like,
That's
I'm
a good
going to look
point.
out for every Jessica Chastain film from now on. But I certainly did after, and because of this. So yeah, it's a dispute for me.
George, where are you at with
I'm
Best Actress?
in complete agreement with Tommy, I'm afraid. I mean, I'm afraid. You don't know what he's got.
George is the man in my basement.
Yeah. I just really hope he makes the right decision, guys. George is not good. No, I completely agree. I think it was probably my first sort of like real exposure to Jessica Chastain as well, and to have it sort of come out in like such a great performance. Like you say, you feel every decision, every moral quandary, every ends justifies the means. Yeah, and just like a woman who never once doesn't realise how important what she's doing is, and also how complicated what she's doing is. And you feel that. And I think her performance is phenomenal in it. I think, obviously they say like, acting is reacting, like scenes of her and Mark Strong is just, you can just point a camera at Jessica Chastain's face and it's phenomenal. Yeah, and like Tommy says, it's one of those ones where you see her in that and you go, who is this? And when is she next in something? Because I'm going to buy a ticket and I'm going to be there. And I have been as well. So you're welcome, Jessica.
Oh, yeah, she was good in The Help. She was a supporting character in that, but yeah.
But then she went on to be like, obviously, Molly's Game and Miss Sloane.
Yeah.
And X-Men.
They did another X-Men movie?
Speaking of X-Men, I don't know. This was a really, really difficult one for me, and I think it's going to come down to that thing where it's whichever one I watched last between Jennifer Lawrence and Jessica Chastain. I echo everything that you guys said about Jessica Chastain. That her performance is incredible. But Jennifer Lawrence, for me, like, we'd only really seen her in The Hunger Games before this, and this really gave her credentials and showed what she can really do when she's given something powerful and left to do something that isn't firing a bow and arrow. I don't know. At the moment, I'm gonna say, because I think I watched it last, Silver Lining Playbook, I'm gonna not dispute it for now. But if I watch Zero Dark 30 tonight and then you ask me tomorrow, if it might go back to Jessica Chastain. It really does depend for me. I also only watched The Impossible not that long ago.
It's one of the first films I ever reviewed, actually, back in the day. Do you remember my old review? Because one of the things I pulled out in it was how good Tom Holland was.
Yeah.
And then he became like that megastar, so you can probably owe most of his career to me, but you know, that's fine. I'm just happy to do it. I'm happy to bring Tom Holland to the world.
You brought him onto the world?
But
yeah, I was also there at his birth.
Interesting.
Were you the midwife?
Midwifery is a slightly good one.
But it kind of surprised me that she was on this list as Best Actress. I didn't think her performance was bad at all.
I think she thought she was great in The Impossible. I really, really enjoyed that film. I really like Naomi Watts.
Yeah, I really like Naomi, but it surprised me that she was one of the 5 that made the cut. And it's a pleasant surprise, but yeah, I think for me it would be, as I said.
I really liked her in Pete Jackson's King Kong film. I didn't really like that film at all, but I really enjoyed it.
I've never finished that film.
I got all the way through it.
I start it and then think, oh, this is long.
Yeah, it's an hour into that film before you even see King Kong.
I like that though. Yeah, I like that.
No, not when you realise where you spent that first hour.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's boring.
So the way we do the next part of the show is, instead of going through all the other categories, we just pick one category that we have a dispute with. We might all have the same one, or we might have all different ones.
I don't think we will.
George, do you want to go first for this one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there were a couple that I thought I would change and dispute some things, or once I thought many, not necessarily wins, but many nominations where I thought, like, oh, it'd be nice if this had gotten the nod. I've been sitting here thinking about which one I'm going to settle on, and I think it might be similar to some others, and it's probably the easy one for the year. I am going to go with this one, and it's Best Supporting Actor.
Okay.
So, should I say the nominees? Are we doing it?
Yeah.
The nominees that year were Tom Lee Jones for Lincoln, Philip Seymour Hoffman for The Master, Robert De Niro for Silver Linings Playbook, Alan Arkin for Argo, and then the winner for that year, Christoph Waltz for Django Unchained.
Yeah, they got the film right.
They got the film right, but they didn't get the performance right.
No.
I would have swapped in Leonardo DiCaprio's performance in Django Unchained. I think it is his best performance by far. I think it's his most different performance. I think he's working on a whole different level. I think he's going all the way in on it. I mean, people talk about like his like big performance in like Wall Street, but
I did in the last episode.
Which you did in the last episode. But I think he's really giving it his all here. I think think of the scene where at the dinner table,
Yeah, when he
he
cuts his
smashes the
hand.
glass and
Yeah.
and he just works it into the scene.
Yeah. Full on like Martin Sheen's it.
Full on Martin Sheen's it.
Yeah. Who cuts his hand on broken glass.
Yeah.
Keeps going.
And keeps going. And it's
He's probably doing less heroin than Martin Sheen and having less heart attacks though.
we assume. I don't know his life. Close enough. Yeah, I think. Nothing to take away from Christoph Waltz's performance,
Which is amazing.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
But I think just by virtue of the fact that he's not too dissimilar from Hans Lander.
Yeah, which is a better performance.
Which is a better performance. Maybe by virtue of the fact that that's the first one we sort of like exposed to him. Maybe if Django had come out first, we'd be thinking the other way around.
Maybe. In a vacuum, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to say.
But I think...
He speaks like 5 languages in that movie.
Yeah, he does. He's very good in that movie.
Yeah.
But no, I think DiCaprio's performance is... It's loud and it's big, but it's never too much.
Yeah.
And I think he plays it just right. Obviously, he's got the words of Quentin Tarantino. It helps. But yeah, it's just the most interesting. I think he's putting his most into it than any other role he's been in. Even that film where he ate a bison liver.
Yeah, Revenant.
And yeah, I think it's fun and it's terrifying and it's everything you want and nothing you'd expect from Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah,
I also agree with that.
Dispute.
Is there anything else, Tommy, that you would have disputed, or was that?
Yeah,
was
so
that one you
I'm
were
glad
going for?
George has spoken about this a lot because it's a film that I really wanted to get some wins for.
Mm-hmm.
But I did find one in here that I really wanted to give it to, and it wasn't even nominated in this category, which blows my mind. But that's for Best Original Screenplay for The Master, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
is that one of your others? Yeah, I'm hoping James teased us off with the last one that I would like to mention, but couldn't.
I just
sorry, I didn't read that. The nominations were Zero Dark
no.
30, Mark Bold, Moonrise Kingdom, Wes Anderson, and Roman Coppola. Flight by John Gattins, Amour by Michael Haneke, and then Django Unchained by Quentin Tarantino is the winner. So again, not even nominated, but Paul Thomas Anderson I thought deserved it for The Master because it's kind of a weird one. Like as you say, it's based on some true characters, but really digging into the psyche of the invented versions, of the fictionalized versions of them, and it's so bizarre and transcendent and dreamlike at times, and it's all in the script, and it's all very it's so powerful. And I mean the actors obviously and the directing, carrying the actors helped this film a lot, but they've got such a strong base to work from, and just hearing it and seeing it and feeling it, I think it's all very much from this script, and it's I really like Django. I think it's a great script. I think, as you can say with a lot of Tarantino stuff, it's quite derivative as a whole, but a lot of those Tarantino lines and barbs and conversations that get thrown about, they're incredible. Very deserving of a nomination at least. But yeah, for me, The Master is the winner of this one.
Thank you so much. So I didn't have to spend the whole podcast talking about The Master. And also, if I ever break up with a friend, I would like them to cry and sing "I Want to Get You on a Slow Boat to China." That's how I want to end.
So my dispute would have been the same as George's, DiCaprio supporting, but just to keep things interesting, I'll do a different one. I'm going to actually go for Best Animated.
Oh, okay. This is not the one we was hoping.
I think I'm going to agree with you.
What was the one that you were hoping
for? Roger Deakins to win Best Cinematography for Skyfall.
I did think about it. Life of Pi, I can't take it. There are some gorgeous, as much as I don't like the film, there are some gorgeous shots in there. And it's always hard to argue with Deakins. Yeah. So Best Animated Feature, the winner was Brave. The other nominees were Frankenweenie, Paranorman, The Pirates Band of Misfits, and the one that I think should have won is Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, I like Wreck-It Ralph a lot.
I really like Wreck-It Ralph. I don't know, it was kind of a weak year for animated films. I think I always get Paranorman and Frankenweenie the wrong way round. I can't remember which one I like and which one I don't, but Pirates is meh. Brave is, I think, one of the weakest Pixar films for me. I find it really forgettable. I know I've seen it, but I know there's a ginger girl who fires arrows in it, and there's a bear at some point. But that's all I can put together of that film.
No, you're thinking of Jennifer Lawrence again. That's the Hunger Games.
But Wreck-It Ralph, I think the heart that he gives the character, not only the animation itself, which I thought was really impressive, obviously being just Disney and not Pixar, which I thought itself was interesting that Disney were doing it. When everyone talks about Wreck-It Ralph, I feel like they think it's a Pixar film, and I think the character of Ralph, as much as I wouldn't give it to the sequel. I think what they do with him in this film, I really like the arc they take him on and the whole story with Fix-It Felix and the Sugar Rush game. I really like that angle. I'm not much of a gamer, so don't come at me and say it's just because I'm a gamer. But I don't know, in a weak year for animated films, I think Wreck-It Ralph was probably the top. And so I'd give it to that ahead of Brave.
Fair enough.
I've never actually seen
You've
it.
never seen Wreck-It Ralph?
Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
It's good.
It's better than Brave.
I've never seen Brave either. I really like Frankenweenie.
I think it's Frankenweenie that I like. I can't remember.
You can be sure.
Frankenweenie's like Frankenstein with a dog.
With a dog,
So. It's kind of in the title, isn't it?
It gives you an
So I
answer.
think there was a lot of disputes this episode.
There was actually,
Yeah.
there was.
So I think we'll...
But well done, Daniel Day-Lewis, for retaining
Yeah,
your...
Daniel
Yeah.
Day-Lewis,
Yeah.
like we all agreed, was the only
It was
one
close, but
that
well
we
done.
agreed. I think we all... Everything else kind of got a bit... I think most of us were 2 out of 3 and 3 out of 3 on depending on what day for Jessica Chastain. So maybe she would have got an Academy Award.
Right, I see what you're saying.
It's interesting that most of our disputes were like different films. So even
Yeah.
though we would dispute Best Picture, we had like different films that would win Best Picture and
Yeah.
stuff. It's
We'll see
crazy.
how...
Sorry, Argo, you're a good movie, but
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah, it's not you, Argo, it's us. I'm breaking up with Argo. I want to get you.
Cool, man.
That's it for this week's episode. Or I keep saying week. I'm thinking it's in case you missed it. George, is there anything you'd like to plug?
I've got a leaky faucet now. It doesn't work, does it? And who says faucet? Not us.
Not us.
Yeah, so they're not dropped yet, but they might
Coming
eventually
soon.
be. Coming soon is a podcast that I do with Tommy called Tuna No Crust, where each episode we look at another entry in the Fast and Furious franchise. Me for the first time, Tommy returning to them as a big fan. And we have a lot of good fun with that. Talk about
Yeah, we sort of chat before you see it.
Chat
we
before I
chat
see it.
after.
yeah, and
Then you
make a
predict the next
prediction,
one.
which is
Yeah.
probably never right. And then there's also Cast It Again, Sam, where Tom and I will take a classic movie and recast it with current day stars. And talk about whether it will get made, what it look like,
Yeah,
what
what
it to
Hollywood
be,
would do to
what
it
Hollywood
now.
do to it. Yeah, exactly. So that's a lot of good fun. And I'm also on Twitter at MoLeyG. That's MOLEYG. There's some suspect stuff, but some of it's good.
Tommy, do you want to plug anything apart from your Twitter?
I'm on both of those podcasts.
You are.
Check them out when they come out. I'm on like most of the other podcasts on the Insider Network, and I'm at Twitter at STT Green.
And I'm also on pretty much everything on Insider Network. I'm not on the other two, so don't. If you want to find me, don't go and. If you want to find James, don't go on Tuna No Crust or.
You can look there.
You can look there.
Enjoy the
You
insane-
can look there. You
won't
can
find
listen, but then you'll be like, you might be disappointed that I'm not there.
You'll go there looking for James and forget why you went there. You'll stay.
You
Like
can find me
Iowa
at
for the James.
Floodgate28 on Twitter. You can find Insider Network on Instagram at Insider Network, Twitter at Insider Network _ and on Facebook. Subscribe if you're listening on YouTube and give us a like as well. And we'll see you next time for the 84th Academy Awards in 2012 for 2011 films. Tommy doesn't like
So stupid. So
They
stupid.
don't look at it, do they?
it. No. See you next time.